Well, hi. Hello, hello. This is the Me&You podcast. My name is Rebecca, and today I'm joined here by a wonderful, magnificent guest who is literally my heart and soul incarnate. Her name is Nicole, and I'm so excited that we are going. I say this every time. I always say I'm so excited, so I'm sorry because when I listen to podcasts, I'm like, "How excited are you?" You were same level of excited last week, but we're going to be talking about staying politically engaged while you're mentally breaking down. And I can't think of a better person to do this with because you are somebody that feels deeply and chooses to connect deeply with others in the world while also cares to connect and heal yourself. And like doing both at the same time is really hard and sometimes feels contradictory. So I am excited to get into that more with you. But yeah, this is Nicole if you want to say hi or anything or a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me. When you asked me, honestly, I was like, me? Like, so honored and so excited too. But I am Nicole and I'm a full-time content creator, which has its own,
Hmm.
I'm sure we're going to talk about that too. But I love what I do. I love to create, and my bachelor's degree is in political science, so I'm actually very, very passionate about politics. Politics is everything. But I also love spirituality and healing,
Hmm.
and I'm just a very empathetic person. I think we
I was
both
going to
are.
say a
So,
deep of that,
yeah.
which is so hard right now,
Yeah.
more than ever. Something I've been hearing a lot is people say, like, we're not meant to know the level of information around the world that we know. Humans grew up with more localized news. We lived in villages or we lived in smaller communities where we didn't have a social media platform that was able to show you an in depth first person view of war in real time somewhere else. And I hear some people saying, like, we're not meant to know all of this, it's too much on our psyche. But it's hard for me to accept that because I'm like, suffering anywhere is suffering everywhere. I can't like just disconnect from it. And I'm in it. And it to me, it feels important to feel deeply, even for people who I'll never meet that live all the way across the world, because the structures that are oppressing us are often oppressing them as well, and vice versa. And we are adding to it in a way that we don't even understand through our tax dollars or whatever else, through politicians like kind of what's the word, like implicit donations or things that we don't even know about that we think we support. And yeah, so it's hard. That leaves me in a difficult place. I had laryngitis a few weeks ago, so sorry if my voice is like in and out still, but it leaves me in a difficult place because I do recognize that it is overwhelming on the psyche, and I think we're all feeling that. And I do also believe that we've been purposefully overwhelmed, and I don't think that's like conspiracy. I think like we can all pretty much say there's no way we were all going to be able to digest the way that they released the Epstein files, for example. But it's hard because we do need to care and we do need to be activated and we do need to be engaged. But also, it's hard when that engagement directly feeds into mental breakdown, many of mental breakdown. I mean, Nicole was with me the other day when I had honestly a crash out, just like crying my eyes out, overwhelmed. And I feel like part of that is like that dense energy that you carry of knowing these things. That's kind of the meat of this conversation. Like, how do you balance both?
Yeah. I mean, everything that you said is like, I mean, first of all, with like, I literally was just telling you before we got on this call, I cried this morning because I open up Instagram and first thing you see is another bombing in Iran. And it's like,
Right.
I do think that mentally, like psychologically, it is like social media in general, the way that we are consuming media is a lot. We are
Hmm.
over consuming. Do I think that we shouldn't know these things? No, I think that we should all know these things. But it's finding that balance, which is really difficult because, on one hand, like, I don't even think we've spoken about this before either, that like these social platforms are specifically made to make us addicted to them,
Hmm.
like the way the algorithms are. And then on top of that, the way that they're releasing information also makes us like, I want more, I want more, I want more. And so then we're sitting here reading all of this, taking in all of this, maybe watching it. So then we get into this paralyzed state, like exactly what you're saying. I read something how the lawyer was saying that the way they dropped these files purposefully psychologically affect us, but they
Hmm.
did that on purpose, clearly. I
Yeah.
mean, the head of FBI
Cash
was
Patel,
partying with
the
the
hockey
hockey
team.
team. And
Yeah.
it's like, you clearly
You
don't
have a
care
job
about
to
what's going
do. You have a
on,
job.
but
Like,
you're partying
but
and
you're
like,
partying. Like, how are you okay right now? Like, your job
yeah,
is literally looking at some of the most egregious and horrific evidence in the world, and you
yeah,
are partying with the US hockey team. Like,
yeah.
can you do your job, please? Like, we
Right.
would love that.
Like I agree on one hand, okay, we need to have our joy, and we always talk about this. We need to
Mm-hmm.
still replenish
Celebrate and
ourselves.
bask and have fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on one hand it's like, dang, okay, like he's just human. But on the other hand it's like,
The head of the FBI, and there's an active investigation going on
right,
about, so, like,
you're
this
on
is like,
vacation.
this isn't like you're clocked in, dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
be clocked
Yeah.
in. And
Right.
I think really more than anything what hurts the American people is seeing how carelessly and purposefully strategic they have been about saying that there wasn't evidence. You know, Cash Patel is on the stand saying that if there was evidence, he would have released it yesterday, and that there is nothing credible to the Epstein files. And then now look where we are. So the way that you have purposefully worked to hide this from the American
Yeah.
people, and then to watch you like partying and having fun on top of that, it's like, oh, I'm glad you're having fun, because the rest of us are biting at the bit to figure out what the fuck happened here. Amanda Doyle released a wonderful podcast breaking down the Epstein timeline. It's a great episode, but she also talks about how the way that they dispersed information was purposefully to confuse us, and it was to
Hmm.
paralyze us. They gave us a million puzzle pieces to a puzzle that we have never seen. We don't know how to construct, and it's missing some pieces, and the pieces are out of context. We don't know where. We've got this one part of a corner that we've never even seen. Like, it's just, it's too much for anybody, you know? So talking about the overwhelm, and also the Epstein files is like the latest, you know, but there's so much going on. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like
Way more.
it's actually crazy. Like, the fact that Venezuela feels like 10 years ago, and that was like a few weeks ago, and it's already like bottom of what's being talked about because all the stuff that's thrown at us. But you've got Venezuela, and you've got Iran, and you've got Switzerland. Like, it's just overwhelming. You've got AI,
It's
and you've
only
got,
March 2nd.
it's only March
It's
2nd. Like,
only
we're
March
not far
2nd.
into
Like,
this. Like, yeah. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And then of course, like, wanting to be locally politically engaged. You want to be engaged about where your tax dollar is going. Education for kids. You know, just so many things. It's so hard to remain politically engaged while it's honestly like activating a lot of pain inside. And yeah, we just want to talk about how do you do that. I want to start with what restores your hope. So, like we just said, like, if you've made it this far in the episode, we're only 12 minutes in, but it feels like we're 12 centuries in with all the stuff that we have just named is going on. Like, holy crap. So if you've decided to stay through that little part of how things are difficult, let's talk about hope. What restores your hope? And we're going to kind of continue from there. But yeah, what is restoring hope for you right now?
for me, it is a few things. I think I really try to focus on the positives in my life from the smallest of things. I have a roof over my head, I have running water, I have food. It's just like those daily affirmations, of finding gratitude in like the smallest things. And then the other part is probably the work that I'm doing in my community right now with the Midnight Panthers running club. With that, we're building community, we're bringing people together. We live in a very isolated time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially in America, or United States of America. It's not only America, America's the entire
Yeah.
continent.
Yeah.
Only here are we told that this is America, but in the United States, it's a very individualistic country.
Mm-hmm.
So people are so, and the system makes us feel afraid of our neighbors, feels like we're in competition with each other. So people aren't finding community. So with this group, we are building that. We are showing that, you know, your neighbors are actually really kind and
Mm-hmm.
loving, and there are great people in your community that you can connect with, and it's not scary to talk to one another, that you should be open and loving and all those things, and then also giving back to our community. So I think that has helped me because when I get to a place of feeling like I can't do anything, especially when I'm looking at all the things that are going on in the world, being politically aware, I get so hopeless and feeling
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what the heck am I going to do about this? So I think for any of us, when we feel like we are actually doing something about it, it brings back hope, at least for me.
Yeah.
So it's been very helpful, like getting involved in that way. And then
Hmm.
also finding other local organizations because I have that degree in political science. I used to work in government. I took a break because it's so crazy, but finding my way back to it in a more, I guess, holistic approach. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but
Yeah.
like finding that balance because I get so consumed with it. And it is
Yes.
very hard to not let it get me into a depression
Hmm.
and feel anxious all the time, which I think it's normal for any of us to be feeling those feelings because the system makes us feel that way,
Hmm.
and is continuing to add to those fears. But yeah, I hope I answered that.
You did. You did.
Okay.
And I want to clarify real quick that the Midnight Panthers is essentially like a running club that Nicole is in, where they also do like public outreach. So they'll volunteer at detention centers. They'll also volunteer at soup kitchens. They do the run club. They also do like Pilates stuff and other things connected to the community that they're in. It's Nicole and Mickey, who has been on the podcast twice, Paola and Linda, Melvin. No, Blake, Melvin.
Both of them.
Blake
Yeah.
and Melvin, and that's it,
Yeah.
right? That's like
Yes.
the okay, yeah, cool. And then like obviously it expands out into the community. So that's what that is. It's fucking incredible. But yeah, I agree, and I feel like one of the things that has really helped me restore hope is friendships. I feel like having good friends makes me believe that there are good people, and I need to believe more than anything that there are good people. And most importantly, I need somebody to share the rage with. Because if I hold all this rage on my own, I'm going to combust. And I was telling you about this the other day. Like, it is so gratifying and meaningful to talk to other people who are activated about this, who are engaged and who are like, what the fuck? And they can share the what the fuck feeling together because it's too much. It's too much for one person to hold. And to know that even though I'm living in a place that is governed by people who are not taking this seriously, I am not surrounded by people who are not taking this seriously. Like, we, the people, are actually so upset and we're so disgusted and we want answers and we want to understand and we want to hold people accountable. And most importantly, like, it makes me rage. Like, I'm like, I need to book a rage room or something and like throw this anger. I remember you telling me that you want
Yeah.
to do that, or that a rage party where like you get a bunch of people together and you just like gather things that can be broken and break them together because it's like in a confined space that's like not causing harm to the community, like, you know what I mean. But yeah, it's like, because like I'm so upset and I feel so powerless. And that's obviously exactly what the goal is, because the more powerless we feel, the less that we'll do something about it. So one of the main things that we can do is talk about it. And that's why it's so important to have these kinds of conversations. It's important to have these kinds of conversations at hangouts with your friends, and you balance the joy at the same time, which we're going to talk about. And I feel like people of color have done expertly for literally centuries. But having friendships that deeply see me and that echo this level of rage makes me have hope in the world. And it makes me have hope that there are good, outstanding, wonderful people who exist. There are good doers who care to just do good, not because they want an award, not because they want recognition, but because they want to be in resonance with the goodness in their heart. And they want to, whether that's they're religious or they're spiritual or they're none of the above and just have good morals, like, they're governed by that. And that is very meaningful and gives me a lot of hope in the world. Also, sometimes you just need a good cry, but like, it could be really paralyzing too, where like the tears just don't seem to come. And even being around another person who is crying about this makes me feel seen and is a valuable experience to have still. Also, let me expand on the joy thing, because a lot of people say that you need to have joy still. Joy is rebellion. And I really do believe that. I believe that presence breeds joy and joy is part of presence, and joy is rebellion in a time like this. And I want to talk about how you hold both those things at the same time, because it seems kind of antithetical to each other. How could you possibly experience joy while something like this is happening? And it feels like every single moment needs to be met with figuring out how to deconstruct this. But actually, that is just the way to wear us out as well. We have to experience the balance of things. And I loved so much what I experienced the other weekend at the Midnight Panthers event that you guys hosted, where I read my poetry at. Not for a moment were we pretending the outside world wasn't existing, but we were like here with the outside world, and we were meeting it with just so much love and so much community and so much gathering and showing the energy of this world and each other that good things can exist while bad things are happening. And the good things don't mean that the bad things are not happening or that we don't care about the bad things happening, but it's also a way of fighting that. And that's not to say that like we just partied like our asses off and then it was like we had a good time and there you go. Like it more so means like in this space we were literally like we were bringing up the things that have been happening, and people are sharing what's on their hearts and their worries that are on their minds about all of this, but also experiencing good music and laughing together and sharing each other's art that is unrelated to this and that is related to this, and like holding both. And I want to talk about that. How did you guys do that, where you managed to hold both so beautifully in a way that didn't feel avoidant?
That's a great question. Um, do I have an answer? Okay, I think our team of the Midnight Panthers, our goal was or is to build community, but also bring awareness. I think it's like what you said, there can be two truths at once. And I actually just saw a post this morning, which was amazing in relation to the bombings in Iran, because I guess they had a dictator there. And a lot of people are actually joyous that the dictator is dead. But also, a lot of innocent people are dead as well.
Mm.
So it's like you can celebrate with the Iranians who are happy their dictator, who has been causing so much harm, is gone, but you can also hold all this sadness and rage that innocent people are still being hurt because of bombing and war in the United States. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I still struggle with this, but the whole point of me saying that is with that event, I think we know that we can't just not go deeper, and we can't just not touch on these topics because they are true, they are real, and we've all experienced them, especially in that space with everyone, people of color, and especially we're highlighting Black History Month, right? We can't deny that there have been and there are still very much hardships and inequality. But at the same time, we all deserve joy and love and peace. We wanted to educate, but
Mm-hmm.
also make it known that you are allowed to enjoy your life. You are allowed to have fun. You are allowed to feel love and joy. And the more that we can find that joy, it will get us through these hard
I
times.
was going to say the more resilience we cultivate too. And I
Yeah.
also think the way that you guys literally set up the event to where it was like vibes and then performer, performer, performer vibes, performer vibes. And like the
Mhm.
performers were very consciously selected who, like myself, were sharing things that were politically educational to bring awareness to certain things. But also the performers were broken up with just like putting on music and chatting around and eating some of the charcuterie board and laughing with your friends. And like that balance, throughout, I also feel like didn't just overstimulate people and paralyze them. It gave them a
Yeah.
chance to like have this information and then breathe and move through it and connect and
Mhm.
let it, and that's something that I notice overall is that like when you get stuck, you need to play. When you get stuck, you need
Yeah.
to move, right? Like, so when you're stuck in here in your mind,
Mhm.
moving your body or moving your energy in a different direction or changing your mind or going like changing what's on your mind. So doing something else that activates your mind gives that thing that was stuck a chance to process and move through you. And that night, I left activated, engaged, hopeful, and not scared, overwhelmed, and paralyzed. And
Right.
that was due to the balance of the event, it feels like, So yeah, I just love that. And taking that event was tailored. It was a Black History themed event for Black History Month. So it was like tailored to obviously political education as well as joy and Black excellence through music and art. But zooming out on that pattern of like experiencing things that are a bit heavier but then breaking from it and experiencing joy, like that zoomed out is your life. Like that's the power that we have, where we can experience these really hard things. You can visit the rabbit hole, but you don't stay in it, because you go back to the surface and you dance around in the grass for a bit and you enjoy the sun and you pay attention to the sound of the wind and you bring yourself back into your senses and back with your people. And then like the breaks are so important. And that brings me to something else that I have wanted to bring up, which was some non-negotiable boundaries that you have with yourself when engaging with this content. So for me, I have really struggled with carrying the balance. Sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes I am literally putting on the news while I'm in the car, while I'm walking a dog, while I'm making my breakfast, while I'm getting out of the shower. Like, there's no break. Like, it's just every single quiet moment of my day is being filled with this. So, a non negotiable that I have made for myself is that I am not allowed to engage with this material in a research component unless I have the chance to cleanse and recharge my energy after. So, I am not allowed to sit and listen to a podcast about why billionaires exist and how they're stealing from our economy and then go to bed. Like, I'm not allowed to do that, because I already know that's going to dysregulate me and it's going to make it hard for me to sleep. It's going to disrupt my sleep, which means that's going to disrupt my energy levels and it's going to disrupt my stress and all these things, right? So for me, that means that I have to do that knowing that I'll have time afterwards to center myself again. And personally, that looks like praying, because praying reminds me that there's a higher, more loving energy out there, and that I can connect to that and I can strengthen myself and my belief in myself and the world through that. So praying is a way to do that. Showering and cleansing the energy off of my body. So I'll rub my hands together and I'll just like brush my face and I'll brush everything down my body and imagine it going out the drain. Butterfly taps is another thing. So placing my hands right on my shoulders, crossed, and then tapping one at a time for a while. Bilateral stimulation stimulates both sides of your brain. It helps to bring you back into the present moment. So yeah, grounding exercises, yoga, meditations. What's it called when you use your voice? Vocal toning, like literally anything, getting on the phone with a friend and talking about it with them, like going out to dinner and having a casual, like uplifting night, dancing around to music. Like, I have to do things afterwards. It can't be the end of my day. Like, that's like a non-negotiable now. And also a non-negotiable is waking up and doing it right away, which is also something I'm really struggling with right now. But the problem with social media is that I get to watch a really cool place that my friend went to eat and how fun her night was, and then also children across the world being bombed, and it in the same 10 seconds. And that is so overstimulating, and it almost feels like a privilege to say that. And like, it's like I shouldn't say that, because it's like, oh, lucky you get to be overstimulated, not in it, is like what the voice in my head tells me. But like, what I'm saying is that I have to be mindful about my engagement with social media, because I do know that I do know that this content exists. No matter how much you fine tune your feed or whatever echo chamber you create for yourself, like, the news breaks through. And that just means that there has to be a more mindful engagement with social media, which is like the hardest thing on the planet. But yeah, I'm interested to know some of your non-negotiables of things that you are directly doing to take care of yourself, like intentionally going into these things knowing you're going to take care of yourself.
I'm definitely still learning, first of all. But also, I just wanted to make a comment on something that you said before I forget. With social media, how you said 1 second you're seeing something good and positive, and then the next second you're seeing something horrifying.
Like the worst of the worst. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's also causing a lot of us to be, what is that word? When we become so accustomed to seeing it, and now we're
Desensitized.
just desensitized. Now we're just numb. And that's why I think taking these breaks, having these boundaries is so important, because if you're not, then another bombing, okay. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
ever want to be okay with that. That should never, I have never been okay with that, and we should never be okay with that. But anyways,
But it feels like you have to be okay with that because the second you scroll, it feels like a subconscious, like, okay, that
yeah,
happened. And now I'm going to scroll to the next thing.
and even guilt for being a citizen here. I was just telling myself this yesterday that, it's not, yes, we are technically complicit just by, benefiting from from this country's actions of destabilizing and literally terrorizing everywhere else. But at the same time, we're not the ones making the decision. I mean, yes, we're conscious now and we can consciously try to, and we are making changes and doing what we can, but at the same time, we're not the one making the decision. So, like, I just needed to tell myself because I feel like I hold all this weight on my
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. But as far as the boundaries, kind of similar. I really try, and I've been struggling lately because I'll go in cycles of this, but I'm really trying not to go on my phone right in the morning. I don't want to get the bad news right in the morning and not before bed either, because I just know if I start my day with that, the rest of my day is going to feel very heavy. I'm going to feel anxious, depressed, and feel hopeless probably. Um, and if I go to sleep reading that, engaging with that before bed, I'll probably have nightmares. And
No, same.
also, like, that fear is going to live in our bodies. And I think everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the boundaries are definitely limiting myself to taking in all that information because I do think that it does paralyze me. And like I mentioned before, I used to work in government, and that was around COVID 2020. And around that time, I just kind of lost it
Mm-hmm.
mentally, and I just got into a really bad place. I mean, personal things, but then also being so aware or becoming more aware of more things, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I had just graduated with my degree in political science. So not only learning more about what the United States has done in the past and realizing
Mm-hmm.
how,
Terrorizing this country has been. It has
yeah,
terrorized other
yeah, I literally
countries.
just saw something. It's like the US is the terrorists, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree. Learning that and then also getting engaged locally, and where I lived was fully Democrats. Here I was thinking we're very liberal and great. And then
Yeah.
you start getting involved and it's like, okay, just because they say they're liberal, just because they say they're a Democrat, doesn't mean they're actually on your side either.
Mm-hmm.
Or doesn't mean that they're actually a good person. So also coming to terms with that and working in government and then being treated badly by politicians because I was an
Mm-hmm.
assistant, and to the public they were so kind and nice, but behind closed doors they're treating you like dirt. I got to a breaking point, and then I detached and took myself away from knowing anything about
Mm-hmm.
politics. But I know deep down that I am so interested and passionate, and I know that everything is connected, and I know that someone else's suffering is also my suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that balance has been very difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
this year, or this past year and a half, maybe 2 years, I've been slowly trying to find that balance because
Mm-hmm.
I do think that probably so many of us struggle with that,
Yeah.
And I do see the difference in not starting my day with that and not ending my day with
Right.
that, and also being aware of where you're getting your information from.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're watching the mainstream news channels, all they're doing is purposely pouring fear into you. And while I do agree that there are things to be afraid of, I don't they're not doing it in a way that's actually trying to inform the public about things in a neutral way. They're doing it from their own biased perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also adding to people's outrage and the reason why people are so afraid to
Yeah.
communicate with one another. And
Yeah.
so I think also being conscious of who I'm taking the information from,
Mm-hmm.
what sources I'm getting it from, and if I feel like it's just the way that they're putting out that information is super fear-based, which I know, like, it almost sounds silly to say that, but
No, I see what you're saying. The way you word a headline can change how someone digests the material. the
Right.
validity of it, the severity of it, what to do with it. You want to be careful not to put yourself in an echo chamber as well. So it is
Yeah.
important to see what many news outlets are saying about a topic, just so that you can see the varying of public digestion and output of these things to get a better read on the situation in its entirety, rather than taking the one thing that you read as like ultimate fact. And that goes for both ways.
You brought up a great point, like just finding that balance. And honestly, I'm still, I mean, I think we're both still
Trying to figure
trying
that
to
out.
find that balance. We had this discussion the other day too, how I've had to realize I cannot change everything everywhere all
Mm-hmm.
at once. That's a hard truth to
Sure
swallow
wish I
for me.
could, and I still think I
Yeah.
do. I still think I can, low key, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but
But
yeah, you
also
can't.
it can't be done right now at
Yeah.
this second, and that's how I
Mm-hmm.
get in my mind. Like my mind tells me, okay, you need to do something right now, like
Mm-hmm.
something needs to be done. Like that's how I guess urgent I feel, or like that urgency that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's the anxiety or fear, but I think that's also a great reminder that, as I don't know if it's the perfectionist in me or what it is, but that slow and steady does win the race.
Mm-hmm.
Every little action does help. And that helps me not feel so overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And just reminding myself of that, that even just smiling at someone you walked past, waving at someone you drive by, letting someone cut in front of you while you're driving, like just like the smallest of
Yeah.
actions positively can impact our world
Mm-hmm.
to make it a more loving place. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm trying to focus on. And I think that also helps give me hope. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it also like it almost feels like a responsibility to be a good human so that others can have hope that good humans exist. Like if I want to believe that good humans exist, then I have to be a good human by result
Hmm.
of that. Also, I've had a realization in the shower because I was
Hmm.
trying to cleanse my vibe after a lot of stuff that I have read.
Hmm.
And something that I thought, which I honestly, I just wrote it down so that I wouldn't forget, but
Hmm.
this darkness existed long before I knew about it. The only thing that has changed is my awareness of it, which means that my awareness is powerful. I don't have to be tormented by these thoughts consistently to validate that they have happened. I can choose to know that I have consciously connected to meaningful truth, and I can also meaningfully heal my energy and step away afterwards. And the point that I'm getting at there is that, like, if these things were happening already, my knowledge of them doesn't make them any more real or not. Like it already was real. It already like these atrocities already happened to a human. And because like for me, like I'll get so hurt when I learn of it that it's like demoralizing, but it's like, wait, this happened and there was still so much joy in your life. So like both do exist, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to torment yourself with these thoughts constantly to keep it alive. Like it already is alive. It's already happening. So your awareness is powerful in the sense that you can consciously connect to it and know that you connected to truth, and that just learning of someone's story validates it, while also knowing that this is the same timeline where joy can exist as well. And like your mind is a powerful thing. So learning to not be a victim of it. And I feel like sometimes I can be a victim of my mind. And victim feels like a really improper word to use right now, actually. When I learn about these things, it bothers me so much that I think about it all the time. Like it's consuming, and it's consuming in my mind and my thoughts and my and the images in my mind and then the fears I have of the world. Like it's so real and immediate is the feeling. But it turns out that this has been happening for a long time. Like, for example, I was reading through the files one time and I saw the date of an email that was like October something 2004. And I'm like, holy fuck, here I am. I was on my merry way, 4 years old, so excited for Halloween. And somebody's having the worst year of their life, like the worst experience of their life. And like, I feel guilty that I even existed at that time, which is bizarre. Like, I can recognize that that's like, whoa, we're getting a little out of touch. Like, you had nothing to do with this, obviously, 4-year-old Rebecca. But I feel guilt that I got to experience joy and freedom while someone was actively being harmed. But unfortunately, that is the case in this world, and that in humanity, humans harm other humans. And you can be aware of that while also choosing to mindfully put your awareness in other spaces at time. Because if I stay there, if I stay in the rabbit hole, I'm going to sink all the way past the depths of the earth, and it's going to be bad. So like, I have to come up for air. Coming up for air feels like realizing like, okay, I can't do anything in this immediate moment other than educate myself and then take care of myself. And then, you echo the voices of victims, you echo the voices of survivors, you echo political coalitions that are working to unite us and connect us and not draw us apart. Like, that's where you find the work. But that work doesn't need to happen when I'm in the shower spiraling. That time is a time to reconnect back in. Like, you get to come back in, take your awareness, take your mind, and change your mind now. Change your mind to something else and let yourself breathe, come up for air, vibe in the party, and then find the ways where you can consciously reconnect to it. Is like the point that I'm trying to make. And I just don't feel like I can make that point. I don't know how I'm like, it just doesn't feel like I'm quite saying the point how I mean to say it, because I mean to say it with the utmost level of respect and the utmost level of intention and clarity and integrity and caring, to be conscious about everything that is going on, but also knowing when is the time to activate and when is the time to regulate. And like I said, in the shower, spiraling after a long day of my life and then engaging on all this on top of that is not the time to rack my brain and be mad at myself for not knowing what else to do or feeling paralyzed. Like, that's the time to heal my energy so that I can strengthen and continue to move forward. And if you're wondering, what can you do? You can support local things in your community. You can, of course, start something with your own people, but that always feels so intimidating. Remaining educated, remaining conscious in a way that you are talking about this. Like, talk about this with other people, talk about it with people in your life, like, find the common ground. Also, getting involved in local grassroots politicians in your area, following them on Instagram and learning about them, going to their website, reading the things about them. And all of this sounds like so much work. You don't need to do all of it. You just need to do something. If everyone can do something, everything can get tackled over time. But it's paralyzing when we realize that we can't do everything, but we want to, and then we just get stuck.
There's a few analogies that relate to what you're saying. It's like every pebble adds up to a mountain
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, right? So we can't think of the whole, like we could think of the whole, but also that's so overwhelming. You have to
Mm-hmm.
think about every little action, every little step you take,
Mm-hmm.
it does add up. There was something else I wanted to comment on what you said. It's going back to your shower story, not to make it a joke, but we have to laugh. But it goes back to what we were saying, two truths can be held at once.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take care of ourselves in not a selfish way. We need to be filling our own cup so that we can fill the cup of the world. That doesn't mean ignoring the world. I know for us, it's hard to not think like this is selfish. Oh, I'm so privileged. Oh, we are privileged. But at the same time, we are aware and we are doing what we think we can do. As much
Mm-hmm.
as we can, and we are dedicated to learning
Yeah.
and
I was going to
to
say, and we care to do better. And that means
yes,
so much.
right.
Yeah.
And so like I think we at times are really hard on ourselves, and it's a learning progress process. That's really just what I wanted to remind you, and it's a reminder that I need for myself, and maybe people listening too, like you need to hear this too, that we are doing the best that we can in the system that we live in. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really another hard pill to swallow, another hard truth.
If you want to get good at many things, you need to start by doing one thing and do
Hmm.
one thing, and then it leads into the other thing. And I had also heard this kind of like said on a podcast or something recently, where like what's happening in Minnesota, where they have really coalesced, like they have really come
Hmm.
together and like shown the world like Minnesota has a voice, and like they are activated, they are protesting, and they're gathering at such a rate that it feels like it happened overnight, but it didn't. That's the thing. Like there are times where it like peaks and like you have this big movement and this big moment where like people come together, but that doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like that was the hard work of people working for decades of educating the community, staying activated in the community, forming community, networking with other people who are good doers, who care about what the state of the world. Like that didn't just happen overnight. So I feel like when we participate in a protest, or like we think that the only way to get politically involved is to protest and that's it. But no, the work is happening every single day. Like get involved with your local community, with what's happening at the local homeless shelter, what's happening at local soup kitchens, what's happening at like so many places
Council
that you can
meetings.
be council meetings. Oh my God, exactly. Like you can be getting involved and educated, and then you're ready come the time where it all culminates. But it doesn't culminate out of nowhere. Like we have to make it a part of our life to be engaged on a day-to-day level. And we all do our little part. You find what you're passionate about, and these things then work together, you know, to make these peak moments happen. But that's what's going to lead to a greater sense of fulfillment. If you're feeling hopeless in this time, yes, you can't stop the genocide in Gaza, but you can be educated about it. And then you can do things in your community and connect with more people who are educated about it and learn from others and create a better world from our own community out. You know, like the more we connect. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm hopeless as shit. And like, maybe none of that's possible. I don't know. Like
I was I was taking all that in, and then you said, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
No, I mean, what do we know? What do we
Feels
know?
like
I
I
don't
can't
know.
do
You don't.
shit. Like I feel like I'm completely stuck, but I do know that that's a way forward at the very least
I've,
to be involved in even a small level in your community, in your local stuff.
but you having this podcast is you doing something. So don't also think that you're not doing
Oh.
anything. And we're always having these conversations together. And like you said, having these conversations, like every time we're together, I learn something new.
Hmm.
And also
Same.
just feel like validated in my feelings and exactly what you were saying before. And like having friends that share these sentiments and sharing that rage with someone is so helpful because you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping me too, and you're helping your other friends too. And then we're all going out into our perspective work in our own world, our own lives,
Yes.
and doing that with other people, and it's
Hmm. It's
rippling out
rippling,
and
and that's
rippling
so
out. Yeah.
powerful. You're so right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so right. Well, what is one thing that makes you really, really, really happy?
Well, hanging out with you and the girls, like I do think like the friendships in my life right now, I am feeling very aligned, which like
Hmm.
also feels like I feel guilty saying that sometimes too, but like I do feel like in my own personal world
Hmm.
that I'm being very nourished in my relationships, in my friendships,
Hmm.
and yeah, that makes me feel
Yeah.
my heart happy.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I'm happy about is days off from work make me happy, even though my day off is doing the podcast. So it's day on and unpaid labor, but it is a passion. And that's worth it. And I have the day off of work, and I get to do the day as I please. So that's a really fun feeling.
Yeah.
So that's something that makes me happy right now, to restore my energy so that I can go back into the world refreshed. Thank you so much for being with me, Nicole. Thank you for talking about this. It feels like this conversation can never be properly had, because it's like if I had all the answers, I'd be running the world, y'all. But alas, here I am on my little corner of the internet trying to figure it the fuck out. And I would love to know how you guys are figuring it out, and how you're taking care of yourself, and how we can continue to connect and uplift for a greater world, because I really believe that there are more good people than bad. I truly do. So yeah. Okay, Nicole, is there anything that you want to share before we end?
I agree with everything that you just said.
You're like, retweet. Ditto.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I'll link Nicole's social media handles or whatever in the description. But Nicole is a really wonderful content creator who is mindful and cares to actually use her online platform for good and for engagement and for kindness and compassion and holistic healing and really connecting to the self so that you can kind of breathe that life into the world around you. So if that's something that you're interested in, her content kind of just effortlessly exemplifies that. So I would recommend following. And she's also one of my best of friends, and I absolutely adore her with all of my heart. And it's her birthday soon. So happy early birthday to a Pisces queen. All right, guys,
Thank
don't
you.
forget to smile, and don't forget to rage because it all has to happen. So fuck it, man. Here we are. Let's do it. Okay. I love you. Have a good day. Bye.